Hi there, John Gums here with Dakota Grappler, coming to you live on a Wednesday night here in North Dakota. This Wednesday night broadcast, I tell you what, brings two great coaches from the state of North Dakota, both of them in the Class A ranks. Both have got a ton of experience, have been on the mat for many years. I'll ask them a little bit about how they've been doing, if they're still wrestling around on the mats or they got good assistants to do all that. Other than that, we're just going to fly through, talk a little wrestling tonight. This is our second episode of the 2018-19 wrestling season, and I'm hoping more and more people come in and join us. During the year last year, I had several videos get hundreds and even up to thousands of views. So this is only going to get bigger and better, and I just want to get wrestling its publicity it needs. But we're going to start off to our first guest that came in from Grand Forks Central, and that's Jeff Welsh. Head wrestling coach for several years now. He was telling me he's got 20 plus years in the wrestling room. I'd like him to introduce himself and then tell me what your main goal is coming through this first month of the wrestling season.
Yeah, Jeff Welsh, head wrestling coach at Central. Been in the Central program coaching since my early 20s, so it's going on 25 years, maybe even closer to 30 at some level, helping out at Central. And this first month of the season, we're just trying to get our lineup together. We've had a few injuries, and the guys are getting healthy, and then also just working on dissension and getting everybody down to the weight that they're going to be the rest of the year. We're getting close, I think, by our Sertoma tournament next weekend. I think we'll have pretty close to our full lineup ready to go.
Okay, that sounds good. As I tell you what, I always see your guys' full room, and I'm always expecting a great dual team to come out of there. What are your looks for getting out of the East this year to get in the dual tournament?
So, well, we made it there last year. We finished fourth, and first time we had missed it for 2 or 3 years. And I think the East, there's 4 or 5 teams that are real close with each other. Valley City got us on opening Tuesday before Thanksgiving. They've got even though they're younger this year, they got a really nice, solid team. Some really good kids who are young, but you wouldn't know they were young. And then Devil's Lake's definitely improved, and you throw West Fargo is always tough in there, and Keenan's always got a good program at Fargo Davies. So there's about 5 of us vying for those 4 spots, and I think anybody could end up on top.
Okay, well, that's awesome. I'm hoping you make it again. It should be a fun wrestling season. Okay, our second guest tonight we have coming in from Jamestown, North Dakota, and I've seen him around for a long time, probably as long as I've been around North Dakota wrestling too. And he's kind of made his way up the ranks and done a great job. And I think he's going to have a very fun season. Watched him wrestle about a week ago at Century. And I see some good things with his young wrestlers. And that's Larry Eslick out of Jamestown. I'd like to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your goals starting off the wrestling season.
Yeah, Larry Eslick. It's my 20th year at Jamestown, 6 years head coach. And, we didn't graduate anyone from last year's team. We returned everybody, and so we're excited about that. This year we have 5 seniors, of course, and we're pretty strong top to bottom. We're looking forward to it. We went in last week and opened up the season with Century last week, and it was a fun duel. It was back and forth. It was exciting. We knew it was going to be close on paper going in, and there was just a couple things here and there we just weren't sure about, and coming out of it, we felt pretty good. It's the closest we've been to Century in 15 years, and the kids wanted it bad. They were pretty confident we could knock them off, and it just came up short. It happens. It came down to the last match, and no excuses, but both teams battled pretty well, and like I said, it was a fun duel to be a part of. We're not quite healthy yet. Our 220-pounder's not in the lineup. He broke his hand in football, so hopefully he'll be back at the end of December here in a few weeks. But our goal, obviously, number one team goal that's plastered all over our wrestling room. The kids feel we have a pretty decent dual team this year, that they want to be one of those top 4 dual teams going to state. We haven't been to the dual tournament in state since 2003, so that's been a goal these kids have had for a few years. We feel that we can compete, we're really to the point where no one really scares us on the mat. We just want to go battle. These kids are amazing kids. They want to put in the extra work. They have put in the extra work. They've done a lot of off-season work, so we're ready to prove it on the mat. So with that said, this is the season we've been looking forward to. So we just got to stay healthy, I guess.
Okay, well, I tell you what, I definitely enjoy watching you guys wrestle. Your young studs will make a difference as the year goes. Saw a lot out of the young Muse kid. He looked very mature. I've watched him wrestle for many years, and people wouldn't know it that he's as young as he is. Really grew up. I mean, being from about 130 pounds now to, from last year being about 95 to 100, and just has really shot up. I watched his older brother wrestle a lot, and I just see that same body build coming in, but probably about 2 years earlier, his brother got him.
Well, he's probably about at the same age. He's 40 pounds bigger than his brother at that age. He's going to be a lot bigger than Paxton ever will be. So it's exciting. He has good mat sense. I mean, he's grown up around it his whole life, and he's been looking forward to the opportunity now to be in the varsity lineup. So hopefully, like I said, he broke his arm at the Metro Duels last year in a freak accident. So he feels he has a lot to prove this year. Even though he's only an 8th grader, his confidence is out of the gym. So hopefully we can keep him in the lineup.
Opening night, so it should be really nice to see him on the mat. Now,
he surprised a few people.
Yep. Now you have an opening tournament. We'll stay with you for just a little bit. You have your opening tournament, the Knights of Columbus tournament starting out. You guys have traditionally had opening weekend. You should have a great tournament. Tell me how many teams you have. Yeah. And some expectations from that.
Our Knights of Columbus tournament, it's the 27th year of it, and it's the biggest it's ever been. We have, you count the JV teams coming in, we have 13 teams coming. Devil's Lake's come back, and so we have Davies, like Coach Welsh was saying, they're vying in the East, I'm sure, and Devil's Lake will be tough too, and Moorhead is always tough, and so we got some good teams coming in. There's a few good kids from South, and so it's we're excited. We're putting on a pretty good tournament, and we're going to have some tough competition coming to town, and it's a good measuring stick for the kids. They're looking forward to seeing Valley City. They're tough. They'll be on the mat too, man. So we're seeing some good East competition, and we're looking forward to it.
I can't remember if you run a round robin or that was just a pass, or you just run straight brackets.
It's a pool. It's always traditionally been a pool system.
That's what I thought.
It's a little bigger now, so we'll have to see what happens talking to Nick when we set up the brackets. If we have 16 kids, if we have to run a straight bracket for a couple weight classes, we'll have to see. But, a lot of coaches like that pool. We get a lot of matches in the day. So we'll try to stick to the pool as much as we can.
Yeah, because I know when the things start off, I know when they did that for years in Mandan too. They want to keep the pool because a lot of kids can get 5 to 8 matches on a weekend, and getting those matches early on is really key. Mat time, and your studs will find other studs. Then it's amazing when you start looking through how kids grow, and some kids stay the same, and the competition level it doesn't really change as much as you think it does. People get older and stronger and better. So.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about your opening weekend there, Jeff. Tell us what you're up to.
We've been going for about the last 15 years, I believe, to the Dan Unruh Memorial in Wahpeton, and before that, we went to the Lions tournament, and we just switched this one about 15 years ago to a little bit closer. And at that time, we were going out west a lot of times, so we found a tournament in the East, but it's a good little tournament. Wahpeton down in the corner of the state there. They draw some South Dakota teams like Sisseton and Brookings, and then they also get the Southwest Minnesota teams like Border West. Frazie's there, who's always very tough, and then sprinkling some North Dakota teams. I think they're sitting at about 17 teams. Usually Barnesville is there, but I was talking to their coach, and they made the state football championship, and their school has a rule that they have to have a week off between seasons, and being a lot of their team is on the football team, they're not coming, so they got to sit out this week. So
Okay, but you have Lisbon there, and they're the class
Lisbon, well, yeah, there's 13 teams, so there's some really good ones there. Yeah.
didn't lose much, and so they're going to be tough as nails. Yeah, I've seen you down there many times. Tell me their format and what they've been doing, and how many matches you can expect your kids to get.
It's a 16-man bracket, a straight bracket. We can enter all our starters, and usually we can enter 3 or 4 alternates. So we're bringing about 16 or 17 guys down there. So,
okay. Now, I've asked this to some other coaches and stuff. Do you guys as wrestling coaches run two-a-days or lift weights or do anything extra as the wrestling season starts, or do you kind of just go full bore and do a couple hard hours after school?
Oh, well, we do 2 days. We lift Monday mornings and Wednesday mornings at 6 in the morning every week. And the first 2 weeks of the season, we're doing 2 practices a day. Other than Mondays and Wednesdays is our lifting day. So yeah, the first 2 weeks, kids passionately call it Hell Week. So just to get into shape, I guess. But we lift in season Monday, Wednesdays, 6 in the morning, and the kids are pretty good with that. If they're not lifting in the morning with the team, they're lifting during the day in a weightlifting class with Coach Nelson. So it's been a blessing. I mean, the kids love it; they're into it, and as the season progresses, we tone down the lifting and work on maintaining our endurance. So it's a good mix for us. Lifting is pretty important. It's a bigger part of the college programs now. So the kids, they like lifting. So
I think you're actually one of the rare coaches that does it through the season, which I think is a good thing. You got to maintain strength, and some of these kids are growing, so they get stronger as the season goes too.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely helped us out, and a big part of it too is injury prevention. Our lineup isn't very deep, so we got to depend on staying healthy a lot of the time. So the more we can get in the right weight room and strengthen ourselves, the better.
Awesome. What do you guys do, Jeff?
We don't do mornings. We do encourage the kids to get there in the morning, get a workout in on their own, and a lot of our better kids do that. Mainly running and conditioning, but we'll do some every day from 3 to 4. We have something extra, either a couple days a week in the weight room, another day on the jump rope. So we do that from 3 to 4, and then our practice is from 4 to 6. So we kind of go a little bit longer in the afternoon. The 3 to 4 time is optional. If they need to go see a teacher, they can, but if they don't have a test to make up or something, we strongly encourage them to get there and get that weightlifting in or jumping rope or whatever it might be that night.
Okay. Well, I looked at your poster and you have a ton of kids out. Tell me about your numbers, both of you guys right now.
We're sitting at about 35 kids, so which is where we've been the last couple of years. We're real fortunate with numbers. We've got our one main middle school, Valley Middle School. We're fortunate. We've had Justin Mondor there for about 15 years coaching, and he also coaches football there. And so he does a nice job getting us kids out, and we get a few kids from the other middle schools, including Twining Middle School at the Air Base where I teach. So it's been fortunate the last few years. We've had 9 or 10 freshmen every year, and that's really added to our depth.
That's awesome. These are the kids that can't skate, I guess. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. But now how about you, Larry? How are your numbers?
Not bad. We're about 25, and we got 28 in the middle school. So the numbers are bouncing back for us, and it's encouraging. Like you said, it helps to have coaches in the middle school, especially coaching football, and get those kids out in the wintertime. So we've been lucky to finally get someone in the middle school that's coaching football and teaching in the middle school and contact with those kids every day. So that's huge in getting those numbers. So yeah, we're sitting about 25, and and it's nice to have that. But like I said, it's we're always one injury away from
yep, having a hole in the lineup. Yep.
Yeah. But It's nice to have those numbers.
Okay. Back to you again, Jeff. Quick question. Who's all helping you in the room now? I know Andrew Kennedy was with you for a long time, is over at Red River. Tell me who's all helping you right now.
Yeah, I've got Garrett Litzinger as one of my main assistants. He's been with us for 5 years now since he graduated. And then I got one other old guy like me, Brian Safratowicz, who started coaching with us last year. Then we got some young guys from around the area. Cole Sogi, who's a med student at UND from Dilworth originally. We're really happy to have Creighton Rudolph on board this year from Minot. Trying to think, Breck Lattiser from Turtle Mountain. And we got a couple former Central wrestlers, Bryce Brandon and Brady Terrell, who help out with our middle school until Christmas time, and then they're full time with us after that. Carl Zemer, an airman from the base, and I might be missing one. You know, for being a quote unquote hockey town, between having UND and the Air Force Base, I get a lot of guys who want to coach every year. So we actually have about 10 guys. I forgot one, a Roseau native, our second year with us, Mark Erickson. He was a 4-year starter for NDSU. He's a pastor in Grand Forks, so he comes in a couple days a week and helps out. So really fortunate with the staff we have.
That is awesome, because guess what? You find that one guy that just finds that little niche some kid needs. It's always good. I've always been kind of jealous of those programs that can get all those good coaches in. That's pretty cool. How about you, Larry? Who's all helping you out now this year?
Well, Brent Mitleiter is my assistant for the last 5 years. He moved up to Devil's Lake. He's actually helping Coach Flynn now up there. But I have a couple former state champs in the room. Ethan Gumke is one of my assistants, and Shane Gallagher, former Blue Jays, is one of my assistants. Also, Dan White helps out, former state champ for us, and Jason Anderson. He's been helping with our club for quite a few years, former All-American from Carrington. He comes in and helps out. So we got some pretty good guys that come in and help out with the kids. It's, like you said, it's a blessing to have those former wrestlers come in, and got a new guy, Brad Anderson. He wrestled for Mary a few years ago, so he comes in and helps out. So it's been fun to have some different coaches and some former wrestlers come in and help out. You know, there's some guys just can't stay away, and it's fun to have a part of the staff.
That's pretty cool. I'll change the subject just a little bit, but I always see you guys make posters. Do you have a brain trust that kind of helps you out get those ideas, or what do you guys do? I know it's sometimes hard. I've seen almost everything you guys have done. I know, Larry, you guys started a book a few years ago to highlight your wrestlers and stuff like that. Is that one of your main fundraisers also? Where do you get all your ideas, what you do for your posters and basically your media for your guys?
Yeah, you know, our program's been a tradition of ours that we've started, probably 35 years ago or more, and it's steadily grown. It is our biggest fundraiser for our program as far as ads and whatnot, but it showcases the history. You know, I'm a history teacher, so I like to showcase the history and to promote the sport that way in our community. As far as designing, you know, I have some pretty good graphic designers that help out. You know, my wife is one. She gives me great ideas, and
I could use one.
And the National Guard's pretty good at designing posters too, you know. But you know, I always see Jeff's, and they're so creative and unique, you know. And he kind of gave me some of the ideas and motivation to get that rolling on my end. So it's fun to showcase the kids. You know, if you guys get to our gym this season, you'll see our new banners up in the gym of our seniors, you know, newly designed banners. So yeah, it's just one of those things that we like to do. It's just showcase our kids and get some attention out there in the community.
Yep. Well, that's always great. And before you answer your side, Jeff, I've always been amazed when you're sitting in the corner and you can take pictures without jumping up and down when your guys are wrestling. Because I know you're about highlighting your guys. You can really talk about it all day. You guys probably have a spot where you put all your pictures. Someday I'd have to probably get the link from you so I can get more good pictures.
We're fortunate this year, one of our wrestlers' grandfather's a big photographer, so I might not have to take as many pictures this year. He probably took about 200 pictures of our duel last night with Wapenen and already put them on Facebook. So I might be able to retire the camera a little bit this year. But it's funny, you were mentioning the booklet in Jamestown, and I actually taught in Jamestown for 2 years from 93 to 95 in the middle school and coached in the middle school with Blair Kelly's dad, Bill. And I remember the first time I went to a Jamestown Wrestling Association meeting, And I was a young punk, about 23 years old. And the first thing they did was hand me 5 businesses and said, "Here, look at the ads." And I was a little nervous, but it was funny. I walked in, and those businesses said, "Yep, sure, we're in." And we've had our booklet in Grand Forks for about probably 12 years now. And it was a fundraising idea, but originally, most of those years we basically broke even. It's a little tougher in a bigger town like Grand Forks. We don't get like 100 businesses to sign up or anything like that. But last few years we made a little bit of money, so it's been both a moneymaker recently and a nice souvenir for the kids. And the poster ideas, that first originated my idea back when UND had a team in the early 90s. They were doing posters, and then saw NDSU take off with that, in the mid and late 90s. And so we always kicked it around, Matt Berglund and I did. And finally in 2007, we did one. And it's tough to come up with a new idea every year. I really, this year, the minute this one pulled off this year, I looked at one of the coaches. I said, now we got to figure out next year. So we kicked around the ideas, and I got to give credit. We get our booklets and our posters are designed by Night Printing in Fargo, and they have some amazing artists there that take the picture we have and then just enhance it.
Okay. No, they did a good job. I like the way you post it. You use stuff, social media and Facebook, and you get your scores out, get your guys recognized, because I wish all coaches, and I know not everybody has to be tech savvy, but getting the results out for the kids and parents, I think, is very key. I know the Jamestown Sun, for years we used to watch. They had the best wrestling results in the state for many, many years, going back in the 70s and 80s. When my dad coached, we'd have the Jamestown Sun because we could get all the results.
Yeah. You got to look at social media now. The Grand Forks Herald has always been really great for getting us quotes and summaries and box scores. But they're owned by the Fargo Forum now. And just this last year, or just in August, they actually cut it back where we don't have a Monday newspaper anymore. And being it's printed in Fargo, they closed our printing press in Grand Forks. The deadline in Grand Forks is a 7 o'clock deadline, so they can get it printed and delivered to Grand Forks. So I'm already seeing our amount of coverage in the paper has gone down. Mm-hmm. And so social media is a way to get our story out there.
Well, that's good to know. I get out there and I always tell people about track wrestling. It's not mine by any means. Someone else asked me if I own track, and they said, no. But I wish I would. It is phenomenal. If people don't get to see results, the coaches now in both North and South Dakota have to basically put their stuff on track, at least their results. And you can see scores and results of pretty much everything. That's pretty accurate.
Right.
I'm hoping the one thing that it's not used for is seeding. I still think the coaches know better than some computer programming guy that should put this together, who should seed where.
It keeps getting better and better every year, though. We go to that seeding meeting, and
it almost has it all done.
They have it lined up, and there's a few tweaks here and there, a few things that might miss, but it consistently gets better every year.
Well, and it's wrestlers running it. See, what's interesting about track wrestling, it was bought by NBC. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. So track wrestling is actually now owned by NBC, and they then hired the guys out that run it. Basically, they're employees instead of owning it, so that they can. And if you have like Sports Engine, Sports Engine runs the main websites now for these places too, and that's also an NBC Sports affiliate, and that's actually where my website now comes through. So they're very generous in helping me get started with a new type of website, and it has so many bells and whistles. I don't even know where to go. I just basically make sure I get some new content on there now and then, and let the old message board. People didn't want that to disappear, but I think eventually the message board will be just archived, and people will just get stuff out there with personal blogs and articles instead of so much of the writing. But we'll see. We'll see. I think there's space for all that information. Other than that, I had a couple good ideas for you guys as it goes. What I wanted to do next is just take a quick look at that opening seedings. Now it's changed. I know many people change, and this is never concrete. That's why I like to see the coaches do it, though. Have this first coaches poll in Class A, and since you're both in Class A, what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share, and we're going to look at a couple things, if you don't mind. and I'm going to talk about a couple of the wrestlers on there. So this might take a couple seconds. I got to go to my tools and I'm going to blank myself out. So then you guys, there, I'm off, but you can still hear me, hopefully.
Yep.
Okay. And then from there, I just have to go to screen share, and that's not too difficult. And you might see something goofy for a couple seconds until I minimize my other screens. And then we're going to go to this. Okay. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I've got this in my Photoshop so that I can highlight a few things. Now, what's kind of cool is I've watched Aiden Braun for a long time wrestle, and he is seated really high. 106 starts off, but what's interesting is I always see 106 as being one of those toss-up weight classes where you just don't know who's going to come out of anywhere. If you could look at last year's first poll, I think maybe about 2 of the wrestlers in that actually ended up in that weight class or into placing. Or the rest ended up somewhere else or not even on varsity, some of them. So it's going to be kind of interesting. And both you guys have somebody ranked right here in the opening poll. And so let's see if I can do something here. Let's go here. I'm not sure if it'll allow me to do it, but so well, maybe it's not. Okay. So let's talk about Aiden. You see, one thing I wish we could do also is make a little box to put what grade they're in. Is Aiden a freshman or is he
He's an 8th grader?
He's an 8th grader. Okay. Yeah. And I know he's got great experience. Tell me a little bit about his work ethic.
Yeah, he has a pretty good pedigree too, but his work ethic is second to none. I mean, the kid's a born leader. Only an 8th grader. He's always wants to be the first one in sprints, finishing sprints. He wants to, after a tough practice, he's running extra. He's working out more. I mean, the kid lives and breathes and just oozes wrestling. And then he's a student of the sport too. I guess he's a coach's dream. I'm fortunate to have him in my lineup, but he feels he has unfinished business from last year. He had a disappointing region, and he really worked hard in the off season, and he has a lot to prove. He wants to show people that he belongs. He has a goal to not only go to state but to win it all. That's, as an 8th grader, the kid's confidence is sky high. I mean, he's a good, humble kid though, and just one of those kids you just love to be around. He's a congenial. The kids love him to death, and he really does bleed blue through and through. So this kid is a special talent.
I've watched him wrestle for many years, and I tell you what, he has a lot of ability. He's a pinner. He moves. He's got all the tools needed. And I watch him I see him just blossom, and he's going to be very tough as the year goes. Well, let's talk about yours over there, Jeff. You've got Tyson Gass, and they're ranked. But I noticed also in the North Dakota High School Activities Association, you have 3 wrestlers. I know you have one of your assistant coaches' sons also there. Might be a little small. I'm not sure if he's grown. But talk about your 6-pounders a little bit.
Yeah, we're actually fortunate there. We have a lot of good ones. Tyson Gass, actually a student of mine out at Twining Middle School at the Air Force Base. I got him to get out for wrestling as an 8th grader, and he really was only full-time varsity last year as a sophomore, and had a really good finish to the end of the season. Ended up placing at the state tournament last year, and just super kid, hard worker. Being as a junior, he's pretty physical. You don't see many juniors at 106. And so he's a real hard worker too, and got him back out on the football field this year after a couple of years off. And boy, he had a really good season in football for being as small as he is, was all over the football field. And, and we've got a freshman, Evan Zemer, who fills in at 106 sometimes when we bump Tyson up. And then also we got another tough one, Amelia Foltz. And she's really solid. She's a sophomore. And so we've got quite a good crew of 106-pounders there. And so we're very fortunate.
Did you wrestle Coy just last night?
We wrestled him opening night, yeah, and he is a tough 8th grader. He nipped us, and knew that was going to be a good match, and they'll probably see each other several more times this season. So
Okay, because I don't remember the results. I know I watched them almost them all, but I'm all just kind of in my head going, what happened there again? I couldn't remember. Well, that's very good. So let's look at a couple other ones here. Mr. Bowman, and I see good things out of him. Tell me a little bit about Joel.
Well, Joel, he's another one that, he had 21 wins last year as an 8th grader, and he had a disappointing region last year and felt that, he was a match away from qualifying and didn't wrestle his best, and so he's on a mission again this year. He's a little bigger, full 113-pounder, and the kid has good stuff. He's a good mat wrestler, and going in against Neil Borer, of course, that was a buzzsaw for him to open the season, but. Even after that match, he's going to have a good season. He didn't wrestle the way he should have against Boer, but he's going to be solid for us at 113. And like I said, he has the length and the leverage that a 113-pounder needs at that weight class. So we're looking for big things from him. He, like I said, he felt he should have gone to state last year, and he has his goals to get there this year. So we're looking forward to seeing a good year out of him too.
Okay, because I saw him wrestle. I think he's wrestled Porter, Nelson. He's wrestled pretty much everybody on the list that's ranked in there. I know I saw him wrestle Henry Nelson, and saw him the other night, and he looks huge for a 13-pounder. He's cutting pretty hard to get probably down to 13. He's looking. He was dominant the other night. I watched him wrestle, but no, it should be fun. That weight class, I tell you what, is still wide open. Those beginning ranks. Boer looked good the other night and caught you guys in that cradle. Other than that, it was close, but because I tell you what, it almost went the other way for a second, and then all of a sudden that cradle was tight, and it just made it through. But let's go farther down the lineup. I know you got your, I know Graph Central's got a guy coming up here also down here. This Josh.
I saw.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is he actually a 26-pounder this year?
Yeah, he'll actually be down at 26 for the first time this weekend. He's been close the last couple duels, but he's been bumping up to 32 for us. He was a state placer for us 2 years ago and came real close to placing last year, and really committed himself in the offseason to getting stronger and better. He went to J. Rob's 28-day intensive camp, and he's really noticed this year he's always wanted to ride legs. And I wasn't ever crazy about him doing it, but boy, he's really gotten it down this year and really worked the legs in our duel last night, turning a guy several times before pinning him. And so we're excited to see what Josh can do this year and hopefully get him back on the podium again.
Okay, because I do expect big things from him. I saw him wrestle, and he's got those little spurts where every once in a while you're going, oh my, he's dangerous.
Right.
And that was 2 years ago when he placed. He kind of had that state going on, and I remember that very well. So he should be fun also this year. What grade is he in?
He's a junior.
He's a junior this year. Okay. Now going down the list, 38 for you at Jamestown, Brandon.
Yeah. Can I talk about 32 first?
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. I'm sorry.
No problem.
A little bit. Oh, there we go. Can't forget Mr. Bowman.
Yeah.
He looked really nice. I tell you what, he looked really good.
Yeah, he did. He opened up the season. Wygum's a pretty decent wrestler, and so he fought Ethan off pretty good on bottom there. Ethan wanted the tech. He tried to get the pin, but he fought him off pretty well. Ethan, defending state champion. He's bigger this year, obviously. Looking at this line of wrestlers behind him, it's not going to be an easy task, to repeat. But that's what people need. They need competition to keep them rolling. But he's going to be tough. His goal is to repeat, and it's always good to see competition behind him. He's got the target on his back. I think last year he wasn't even in the first poll.
Yep.
He's looking forward to having another good year, and he looks good in the room. He's focused. He definitely wants to prove that last year wasn't a fluke.
Yeah, and it's no slouch to come out of that weight class. You look at all the way around it; it is solid. Definitely. Okay, so let's then move up to Hatcher up at 38. Now, I'm thinking Bowman and Hatcher wrestle a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're two practice partners, iron sharpens iron there. I mean, they're good for each other. Now in the mix, we got Muse in the mix in there too, and those three go at it pretty good in the room. And now Muse knocking off Schultz at 38 just turns things even more interesting. So Braden is a two-time placer and coming in as a senior. He's his goal is to work steadily up the ladder here. So he's always been a solid wrestler for us and a good mat wrestler. So we're looking forward to the weekend for him and Braden's one of our vocal leaders in the room. So like I said, he's a two-time placer and he really wants to get higher on the podium. So he's worked hard this preseason and he's one of our senior captains. So we're looking for consistency. You know, we're like this year for the first time in a long time. I'm blessed with a lot of good seniors in the room. So he's one of those guys that are going to be our leaders.
Well, I tell you what, he did not look small for a 45-pounder too the other night. You know, he was here at 38 ranked, but you know, sometimes I thought he was small, but he looked just fine.
Yeah, we felt that going in too. You know, against Raiders, a big 45-pounder, and Hatch, he got caught, and you know, he's obviously probably at 45 is a little too big for him, but he wrestled up, and he's going to be down this weekend. So yeah,
well, he was in that match pretty much the whole time. You know, it was 4-1 after the first, and then only 5-1 in the second. So it was right there, and he was in there deep a couple different times. Just Raiders stopped him. He's a pretty strong kid.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
Yep. So, and that was one I didn't expect to pin. I think that was probably a shift in the duel right there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't expect that outcome.
No, and so when you think of a 3-point victory versus 6, that was basically it could have came down to a tie. I tried to map this out, and I thought that was kind of big there. Couple other guys now. Big victory the other night was that John Browning. I thought he had a pretty good match. He came on. He looked in halfway decent shape.
Yeah, you know, we pride ourselves on that. You know, it's one thing we don't want to lose on conditioning, but Johnny is a solid kid. You know, and I'm glad he thought last year he thought he was going to try basketball, but we finally convinced him that this is the right sport for him. But yeah, he had a goal coming in, and a lot of people don't give him a lot of credit or they look past him. And he's a dangerous wrestler, and I think he proved that on opening night against Nelson. So he's going to be a surprise for a lot of people this season, I think.
He tried that early headlock in the match, and he didn't try to throw it later, where he probably could have caught Nelson when he got tired there at the end. But I think they were both pretty tired when it was all said and done. But
they're both going at it pretty hard, you know, and that's one thing Johnny has is, you know, he does like to throw when he has to. So when he doesn't have to, but at least he has that in his arsenal. It's not something that he's going to lean on, but it's something he can surprise people with.
Okay, I did not get to see Mac wrestle. Tell me a little bit about him the other night, because I know they forfeited to him.
Yeah, Aaron. You know, he had a great football year, and he's one of our. He's a silent type. He leads by example, and the kid's his work ethic is out of the room. The kid is just a machine. We're looking for big things. You know, he had a disappointing state tournament. You know, we felt he beat some kids. You know, he had a lot of close losses, some state placers, and he's right there. And he worked hard in the off season. Right now, I think it's coming around. You know, he was only wrestling for 4 years, so he's starting to figure things out. And with his ability and his athleticism, we're hoping he's going to be scary on the mat. You know, we were hoping he'd get a match the first night, but that stuff happens. So we're looking forward to this weekend for him. He's a big, strong 82-pounder. I know that's a tough looking weight class right now. But with a couple kids losing, I didn't think last week, I think that 82-pound weight class could be wide open too. But so, yeah, he's a big, strong kid. I think he's going to do fine.
Well, sorry to skip you a little bit there, Jeff, but let's go back up to a couple of your guys on a few weight classes.
Yeah.
Let's go. You guys both have a ton of guys. I tell you what, if it came down to the state tournament and you guys had this many guys ranked and that many placed, but maybe a few up a little bit, would you guys both be very satisfied?
Yeah, I think so. We had I think 4 last year. We'd like to get more in that 6, 7, 8 range like we had back a couple of years ago. But so yeah, going back there, we have Alec Humble ranked at 145. He was a state placer for us last year, 126. He really lifted hard in the off season and grew into that 145 spot. He might be a little on the light side for 45, but he's also got a motor that just doesn't stop. He's a soccer player, and so he's always in great shape, and he can go all day long. He's one of our leading guys when we do running and things like that. So, and then Evan Bridgeford at 52.
He's currently ranked 6th over here. Yep.
He might be a little bit of an unknown, and he's kind of on that fringe of placing. Probably hasn't beat a lot of ranked guys in the past, but I know he did beat Fisk one time last year, and I think Fisk got us once or twice. And so he's right on the cusp. He's a junior, and I should mention Humble's a senior and Bridgeford's a junior. So yeah, a couple nice guys in the middle there for us.
Now, again, iron sharpens iron a little bit there. Those guys must wrestle quite a bit in the room. Do you find that does make a huge difference, having two guys?
A little bit. Humble actually, it seems like he wrestles, even though the guys are a little bit lighter, he wrestles with some of the faster guys like Isasi, and we do have some good 32 and 38 pounders that he wrestles with. And then Bridgeford tends to wrestle with Ben Stevens, our 160 pounder, who's strong as a horse and just missed placing last year. So, but a little bit, they do wrestle a little bit. They're just kind of in that split where one goes one way with bigger guys and one usually goes with a couple of the other guys a little bit lighter than him.
And with all good wrestling coaches, you're probably putting them in groups of 3 and 4 and whatever else too. So, okay, how about Rorik? Tell me a little bit about him.
Yeah, he's unfortunately 3 years ago, East Grand Forks Sacred Heart dropped their program. And fortunately, we have the Sacred Heart kids, they co-op in several sports with Central. So we have him and Grant Sullivan from Sacred Heart, and then the East Grand Forks kids co-op with Red River. And Will was 5th at 170 last year, and he's actually working his way down to that this year too. He's close, but a dissension plan won't quite let him go there yet. I think he'll be at 170 for the Sertoma, and then we'll be real happy with our from 45 on up, we'll have a pretty solid kid in every weight. So once we get everybody down to their weight classes, so yeah, he'll be there at 170. I don't know where he's going to fit in there against those guys, but we're excited to have him back at 170 after placing last year. He's probably one of the strongest kids in the state, I'd say. The kid just eats and sleeps and lives weightlifting. So he is strong. Even our guys in college who wrestle with him are amazed at how strong he is.
Yeah, that is always a benefit. Okay, how about let's go down here to Krebs. Let's talk a little bit about Krebs. Now, he's going to be at 95, you're saying, and then Vandal, he's the one that's injured from football?
Yeah, Samuel, he cut down to 95 this year, senior year, and we only had Samuel for about a half a year last year. His little brother's our heavyweight, and he hurt his knee against his little brother in practice and missed about half the season, and got him back the second half of the season last year as our 220 pounder. And so Vandal and Krebs have flopped spots this year. Vandal is 220, Sam's on 95, and Sam, he qualified for state, just missed out. His goal is to obviously place the state. I think he's going to do well. He's got a big body for 95 pounder, and Vandal, last year, he was the guy that cut down to 95. This year just wasn't going to happen for him. He broke his hand in football, and he doesn't get his cast off until December 12th. So we're hoping to have him back for the Rumble or a little before that. So with that said, 220 just makes sense for him since he's just been able to condition and not really wrestle as much as he should now yet. So, but Vandal, he's placed 6th at state last year at 95, and we're looking for a big season out of him. And it's unfortunate that he has to miss the first month here, but he's chomping at the bit, man. It's tough for him to be working out and not wrestling,
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to. He's a big, strong kid, and he fills out that 220 pretty nice this year. So we're looking forward to having a tough upper weights there, and we'll see what happens. I think that 220 behind Bame
Well,
could be a good dogfight.
Yeah, you look at the top 5 there. I think some of these guys have wrestled each other before. I know you guys had Kringley before. Tell me a little bit about Sullivan.
Yeah, he's one of those Sacred Heart kids. So he started wrestling over in East Grand Forks, and then when their program dropped, he came over to us. So this is the 3rd year we've had him. He was took a little while. We got him down to 220 the other night. He's naturally 220, but he's a bit, in football, he's usually about 240, 245. He wrestled Crump the other just last night, and it was a real tight match. We were up for about the first period and a half, and then Crump tied it up, and then kind of an unexpected cradle we didn't see. Your 220 pounders aren't always looking for cradles, and we got caught in a cradle, so we lost a tough one to him last night. We'll probably run into him again this weekend down in Wahpeton, but yeah, that'll be a good weight class with a lot of toss-up guys there, where they'll settle in there in the rankings and in the placings at the end of the season.
Okay. Then I noticed the other night the Jamestown Century match, you guys didn't bring out a heavyweight. I know you got a couple of them. What are you looking at there? Are they still just working there?
Yeah, my heavyweight, Samuel's little brother Damien, he was sick, so we didn't have a heavyweight to bring. My other heavyweight hadn't had enough practices yet, so we have the kids, we have the bodies. We just unfortunately couldn't bring one last week. But yeah, Damian Krebs, he's a sophomore. He'll be our heavyweight, and he's about 6'3", 250. So it's coach size. He fills out that weight class pretty nice. But like I said, it's just to get him healthy, and we'll get him ready to go this weekend.
Well, that's good. Any other wrestlers you want to bring up between this that aren't ranked? You guys know you got a room full. Any big expectations? You see some guys really stepping it up right now in the room.
We got a kid, Cameron Bridgeford, Evan's brother. He's a 182-pound senior, and he actually 2 years ago he was why am I blanking the name? 170-pound state champ for Mandan. He was wrestling him in the Grand Forks multiple and had a season-ending elbow injury. And then last year at the Sertoma, we were wrestling Jamestown actually, and he hurt the other elbow and was out for the season. So he's a real tall, lanky, strong 182-pounder, and I think he's going to surprise a few people this year. So at 182.
Okay. No. I'm so impressed how you guys remember all the names, even as I get older, even your own wrestlers. I remember the last couple of years I was coaching, I'm going, what's his name for a second? But you get so embedded into it.
Right.
Gonna see some good things. How about in the East region? If you had to pick the top overall team, is it going to be Davies and West Fargo kind of battling out right now for individual wise?
Boy, I mean, it's really tough. Devil's Lake the other night had a real tight match with Davies. We were missing a few guys, and lost a fairly close match to Valley City. West Fargo, I don't know if they got some guys coming back, but I noticed they're missing a few guys that I expected to be in their lineup early on. And I'm missing somebody else there. Davies, West Fargo, West Valley City, Devils Lake. Yeah, there's the 5. I think given night, when you only duel each other once a season and you don't know who's going to be hurt or sick on that night or what's going on, that's the exciting thing that I really like about going by the regular season duel standings is it makes those regular season duels so important and so exciting. And I really think any one of those 5 teams could end up in the top spot in the East, which is exciting for us, I think.
Have you guys discussed West Fargo bringing another school in the near future?
I've heard that for a few years, but haven't discussed that. That'll increase the amount of triangulars and quads and things like that as we, try to still fit more teams into that 16 event. So got to get creative with that. I know the West deals with that even more.
Yeah, the West, we added West to Watford City.
Right.
And I know a lot of teams are going, how the heck am we going to fit that into our schedule?
Yeah.
Got a few more tries, I think, this year.
Yeah.
Do you have any tries, Jamestown, then? Do you have some there?
This is the first time in my career I had 3 triangulars and a quadrangular in my schedule.
Wow.
So it's the disadvantage with that is you lose a home event here and there, and so we're limited on our home events, and I don't know if we can break those apart in the future, but yeah, adding Watford City really turned things interesting for us. The quadrangular wasn't something I planned for. It just was I was told it was going to happen. So, people just want to wrestle, and that's fine. But like you said, with the triangulars, you lose a home event every 2 years, and that's kind of tough. You're trying to promote your sport. But with that said, you got to fit them in somewhere, and it's the day of the triangular, I guess, now.
Yeah, I know kind of always mentioned this before with you, but kind of in the middle of the state there where they've always kind of threatened that they move you back east.
It's never going to happen.
Completely change again.
Fargo keeps building schools, or whatever, so we're in that gray area. So I don't know, we're happy in the West, I guess. We'd love to be in the East too. We spent a lot of years over there and had a good time there, but in the West, it's tough over here, but we enjoy the competition. So with that said, we're not moving anytime soon.
Yep, maybe not a tough question, but Bismarck has kind of got the dominant team if you had to predict right now. Who's going to?
Well, it's pretty easy to predict them, I guess. So they bring back the most state points.
Yeah, Dickinson's right in the mix. They're going to have a really healthy team this year. This should be fun. Who do you see coming in after that? Because I think it's pretty spread out. I was surprised when I really look at the number of rankings. If I had to make my prediction now, I'm being I don't think this is a bold statement. Jamestown is not ranked in the top 10 in state. I believe they will be there. Is that too bold a statement?
I think we will be. We're looking forward to seeing Bismarck next week. One of the heart and soul of our team right now, I think, we didn't talk about him in the rankings. Noah Brown is ranked 3rd at 52, and his attitude going on the mat is not scared of anybody. Coach, they put their singlet on the same way as I do, and last season against Bismarck High in Jamestown, first time in my 20 years that we didn't give up a pin to Bismarck High in a duel, and so the kids felt pretty good about that, and we're looking forward to wrestling Bismarck High this year because we kind of feel that the Bismarck High team is strong, but not as strong as last year's team. So we're looking forward to tussling with them next week in Bismarck. Number one. I mean, you can't say they're not, but I think Minot looks like they've reloaded a little bit. Of course, they had a couple half lineups to go against to start the season, but they always seem to find kids. But yeah, you're right. Dickinson, Minot. Century, but I think we'll be in the mix somewhere.
Right. But they'll be interesting because they've got some power in different places. It all depends on how it all weeds out and the matchups. I tell you what, points come out. You might have a very tough wrestler, all of a sudden he ends up in 3rd versus in the finals. It'll be interesting to see it again. And I want to put a shout out for Beck. That should be fun. Beck gets our state tournament back this year. And we'll have a lot of broadcasts, and we'll be able to go live with the duels and not have to go nationwide. We'll have it televised and just then online. That should be a lot of fun there too. Hoping Hasler has got it all situated and we can get every mat sometime. Kind of like if you've ever watched the South Dakota State Wrestling Tournament, it's one thing I'd like to give them for is they have a camera on every mat come placing, and so they can, if you wanted to look at, let's say, the 3rd place match, your wrestler, you can click on it online and see just that mat. I really like that format that they were doing, and I think with the advent of track, if you could kind of combination of that and what they're doing, see what South Dakota, if they got a hold of them with the Prairie Public Broadcasting does theirs. And it's not track or anything, but kind of get some ideas of how they've done it. I think that Beck could pull it off, and maybe they could get broadcasters on every mat like South Dakota too. But other than that, I think there's some good things happening in wrestling. Anything rules wise you see, both you guys, when you go through your rules? I think you're both probably taking your test again this year.
Oh yeah.
Anything big you see coming this year on that stuff?
Well, I think the action's going to be a little more fast paced. I guess the stalling calls, we saw it last week. It was hit right away, and just kids trotting off the mat or whatever. They're hitting them right away, and it's keeping the action going in the middle of the mat. I noticed that right away, I guess. How about you, Jeff?
And a little bit, on the boundary, a little bit, getting closer and closer to college all the time with, just needing two supporting points, 1 foot of either wrestler, in bounds or whatever, and you're still wrestling. And then they cleaned up and clarified that knees rule, last year, where the knees had to be on the mat, when you're pinning them outside of the mat. Now they just got to be,
inside the boundary.
But we always teach kids to be on their toes when they're pinning, and that made it difficult last year. So they came up, and so that'll make wrestling better on the edge, I think.
Mm-hmm. I definitely saw that. Yeah, I've never heard of a coach wanting to say go to your knees so you can put them in half and you're pinning them. No, right. It was just I don't know who came up with that rule to begin with. I really didn't. I thought that was crazy. Yeah. I don't see any major changes rule wise that we can't handle. I think most of them are pretty good. I think that we're doing a decent amount now. You have a certain amount of weigh-ins versus matches. Used to be match limit. How many matches did most of your wrestlers get last year?
Oh man,
50.
Yeah, I'd say for us, we had troubles with injuries last year. So, but I would say with our schedule, a guy will get about 45.
Okay. And where's the farthest that you travel, Jeff? I don't catch your schedule as much.
Bismarck for us, the Rotary. Yeah.
Okay. You don't go into Minnesota deep or anything like that being over there?
No. Years ago, before I started coaching, even we went to the Minnesota Christmas tournament. We used to go to Millbank, South Dakota. We used to go to Aberdeen, and we still travel and and get to a lot of good tournaments, but not quite as extensively in the South Dakota and Minnesota as we did years gone by.
Okay. Do you ever get to see some Canadians come down?
Haven't in a long time. There was a couple of years, about 15 years ago, where the Canadians brought a team down, and maybe even 20 years ago, and filled in our Sertoma tournament. And in years gone by in the spring at our freestyle and Greco tournament, we'd get, a handful or a dozen. And but the last couple of years we haven't. I think they've had some other tournaments going on up in Canada or something like that. But yeah, we used to have a relationship with the club up in Winnipeg, and we do some exchanges and things. And that's been about 15 years since we've really been involved with them.
How about girls on your wrestling team? How many do you have out right now, both junior high and high school, both you guys?
We have 2 girls at the high school level, and in Grand Forks, I would say we have maybe 2 or 3 girls at the middle school level. And then in our club every year from elementary up, we usually have probably 6 or 7 girls. So
okay, so there's some there.
Yeah.
How about you in Jamestown then?
As far as girls?
Yep.
None right now. Even though we have a pretty good relationship with the women's wrestling team at the college, but no girls in middle school or high school right now.
Okay.
We have in the past, but not this year.
Right. I saw a lot of your middle schoolers wrestling. You got a lot of big middle schoolers too. Just the other night at Simley. Jamestown, if you had to pick your strength on your wrestling team, what would you say your team's strength is?
Right now, I think our team strength is we've probably in a couple places we've improved, but on our feet we're pretty good on our feet. Our goal is always to get the first takedown. That first takedown wins the match. Percentage wise, so we like to say we've improved on our feet, and that's our strength.
Okay.
But,
how do you set up your team captains?
Our team captains.
Yep.
Our 5 seniors and 1 junior, Noah Brown. Noah Brown's a junior captain. He was actually a captain for us as a sophomore. Like I said, even though we have 5 senior captains, Noah Brown is probably the heart and soul of our team. He's he has the heart of a lion. And the kid, he had such an injury-plagued season last year. Just to finish out the season and place at state was an accomplishment for that kid with a bum knee and pleurisy in his lungs. So this year he's healthy, and we had him in and out of the lineup all year, and so it's nice to have 6 solid leaders like that in our room. And Noah, like I said, he's chomping at the bit. He only had half a year where he felt he only maybe felt good at state is what he said, barely. So
how about you, Jeff? How does Jeff your team?
We vote for our captains, and did one interesting thing this year I'd never done before. Actually came from our athletic director, Mark Rarick, and he suggested anybody who's going to be a captain should take the captain's course on the NFHS Learn website. And so I required anybody who wanted to be on the ballot to be a captain had to get that course taken care of. It takes about 3 hours total online. They had a couple of weeks to do it, but I went through it myself, and a really good course on leadership and telling kids, how to be a good captain and what good captains on high school teams do and don't do. And so we vote our team from those guys who did that course. The team votes on 3, and then later on, we coaches are able to add a 4th. So,
okay. Now, how about stats during the year? Do you have stats posted in your room, or not? Is it one of those things?
I do. Yeah, I guess
anything like
I
that.
do. Stats. I have the Strack Wrestling Stats program, and I post them probably every 2 weeks. I know some coaches don't, but we always have. I mean, I guess it's just one of those things that we use it as a tool just to measure improvement, and of course the kids like to see that stuff, and we don't want to dwell on it, but I post them every other week or so.
Okay, I think there's a motivation factor there. Very good. What do you think, Jeff?
I'm not opposed to posting stats. I just actually hadn't thought about it really. I do go in and look at the stats once in a while, just see if I notice any trends or anything like that. The one stat I did start posting a couple of years ago is simply attendance. And so we keep attendance and keep their percentage of practices attended and what our team percentage is for attendance. And, we tell the team we want them to be, in that 90 to 95% percentile for attendance, both individually and as a team. And 95 as an individual is the goal, and 90 as a team is the goal. And for the simple reason is you can't get better if you're not there. And so we put that up on the wall every couple of weeks and highlight the guys that are at 90 or 95% or better. And then I haven't done it yet, but as we get another couple of weeks in, I'll put our team percentage up there and let the guys see what that is. So we found that's been a pretty good motivator in recent years for, kids getting to practice. Even everybody wants to take a day off once in a while, but it's a good motivator we found.
Okay, that's interesting. I haven't heard that. That's very interesting. How about what are you looking forward to here as the next month goes? And tell me, just basically as we get closer to the end of this, where some of your wrestlers plan on going to college, if you got seniors or anything, if they got plans, if they'd like to wrestle beyond high school, if you know that or not.
Well, I guess Ethan Bowman, he's thinking about wrestling in college. I know he's being courted by Concordia, NDSU, and SDSU, and I think he's probably leaning towards SDSU. They've been talking to him quite a bit. I think he's really the only one right now that's thinking about wrestling beyond high school. I think the others are more football based, but other than that, it's and it's just him right now. I think that's thinking about going beyond high school.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if I have any that are thinking about it right now, and I haven't really talked to them about it, but I think there's a couple that have the potential to, maybe be NAIA or Division III. And as the season goes along, we'll have that chat. And I do have to say there's a lot of college coaches around here are really good about contacting the high school coaches and getting information. So I think that's really picked up in recent years with, Dan Lovell at Jamestown. He just sent me an email earlier this fall asking me about guys. So I gave him some information, and the guys at Concordia are great. And 40 at Minot State. And I'm probably missing a few here, but that's been nice to see all the college programs in the area really reaching out to the local talent.
Yeah, I noticed. Well, Aho here in Bismarck at Mary, they're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
I couldn't even imagine the attendance he had out there. We had a match at a middle school match, or I'd have been out at it too, but they had over 1,000 people at a duel for Mary. That's phenomenal. I mean, I couldn't imagine having, and they send some kind of attendance record out there for that. But they have a very nice college team. I don't know. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Larry?
Yep.
Well, December's a buzzsaw. I mean, every weekend's going to be a tough one. Like with next weekend, you go to Wahpeton, and we have the KC, and then after that, we go to the Sertoma, and after that, it's Valley City. After that, it's the Rumble. So December is a buzzsaw, and and you get a few duels and triangulars mixed in there. So it's a lot of wrestling. So I'm just hoping we stay healthy.
Yeah. One thing that popped in my head, I was thinking back to Larry earlier in your conversation, mentioning you had 28 kids out in the middle school. And, I've always been a middle school guy. I coached a lot of middle school. And when I was in college, and I coached at Jamestown Middle School, the program at Twining at the Air Base, we started from scratch. And I really think, clubs are great and everything. But in order to keep numbers up and keep teams full, I've always found it's a lot easier to get a kid from 7th or 8th grade up to wrestling high school than to count on that kid in kindergarten or 2nd grade to still be wrestling for you in high school. And I think, you find teams that are strong, whether it's the Bismarcks or whoever, they've got solid middle school programs with coaches that have been there a long time. And, when I coached in Jamestown, we had a couple heck of a middle school teams that went on to win the Rotary a few years later. And, and you could see it with those kids in the middle school, how competitive it was down there. So just a big shout out to try to, have coaches really take the time to invest in those middle school programs.
No, I couldn't say anything better than what you did. It was perfect, because those middle schools, I know it's helped Mandan out tremendously. When they got old Dave Mellon, when he was still around, helped that Mandan program when he took it over, and he actually hand wrote letters to every 7th and 8th grade boy, and their numbers just started to skyrocket. And Taylor Helma's doing a good job. He's got 50 some kids out in Mandan. That's phenomenal. And so, and we only see good things. You just got to find a way to promote the sport at any level. And I agree that 7th and 8th grade is so key. Get them matches, get them time, let them have some fun. It's not all serious, and get them serious about loving the sport and not about the wrestling itself. That becomes more important than anything.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate both you guys coming on. We got so many other things I know I'll talk about, but I will catch up with you guys again, and we'll talk some results.
Yeah. Thanks, John.
I've got some other guys lined up. It's kind of a little secret. I think I might have some college coaches that want to get on. I might get Terry and Troy Steiner on again. A couple other things, but we're only going to get bigger and better. We just got to talk wrestling. I think there's always a forum. I think you guys do a great job promoting your sport in your towns, and just push it for everybody else to do the same thing, because I can't do it myself for everybody, but I want them to really take ownership in what they're doing. These coaches have a big responsibility, and I think they know that. But without getting there and promoting your sport, getting it out there, it doesn't get bigger and better, and you miss that one kid that could be unbelievable. But guys, again, I don't know. I will catch you out there. If you ever need anything, get a hold of me, and I'll do my best to try to help you guys out too. Okay?
All right. Thanks, John.
You betcha. And then let's just call it a good night. I appreciate everybody watching tonight. Dakota Grappler, go down, and I need a few more subscribers. I'm going to have probably a few contests. I only have about 100 subscribers. I think I had 99 as of this morning, but I think if I can get up to about 200, I'd like to eventually get about I know a lot of people come watch and aren't subscribed, but if they subscribe, I'll probably get some prizes coming on here come toward the end of the year. I do have a lot of Dakota Grappler t-shirts, which I owe both you guys one again. And I'll get your books. In fact, I'll be picking them up tomorrow morning. So I'll have some in Jamestown for you come Friday.
Okay.
I'll get some to you too up there, Jeff, best I can.
Yep.
And anything else, just holler, like I said, anybody in wrestling. You can also, there's a little bell out there. Click that one, then you can get when I go live. I got a few guys I guess I could mention. Going to have Blair Kelly, Jamestown,
Cool.
dad coach for many years. He's going to be coming on in the very near future. If not, we're going to tape. We might not meet the time. He's got some really young kids. I think he's got 4 young kids. And so even 8:30 seems a little late for him. And so if he's watching, he can give me a hard time, but he's got to get his girls to bed and his kids to bed sometimes, but we'll have him on. I'll have Travis Lang. We're going to have a few times he's going to come on, and he's got this relentless mindset he's been working on. He is becoming a motivational speaker. He does talks at a lot of different places, and I'm proud of what he's doing. He's got a pretty good message, and he's also the assistant wrestling coach at Bismarck High. He'll be on in the very near future. I have several other coaches. I've got tomorrow night. In fact, I'm going to go live and have a duel, but 3 duels. And see if it all works. I don't know if I want to do 3 individual duels or if I just want to have one real long broadcast. I'll probably do 3 different duels. I've got it just as one to begin with. But we have Century and Mandan. That'll be the last duel, I think, of the evening. The middle duel in between, I think, will be Century and Legacy. And the opening duel, I think, is Legacy and Mandan. And that starts tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, Mandan Middle School. You can come watch it there, or you can probably listen to me online on Dakota Grappler. We'll have that live. Okay. You guys have a good night. Everybody out internet land, you guys take care and go out and watch your wrestling. Have some fun.
All right.